South Carolina defense attorney and host of Lawyer Lori on TikTok. This is obviously pretty big to hear these 911 dispatch calls, Lori, and watching him react to it, at times weeping. As we've been hearing the initial phone calls that were made to the 911 dispatch, your takeaway from what you've been hearing in that courtroom so far, Lori?
With regard to the 911 call, this is especially interesting to me because we've only heard a portion of it. So this is a whole new, the tape that we have not heard before. It's not been made public. And this portion, again, he brings up the fact that he knows it is the people from the boating accident. He knows it's related to the people from the boating accident. And that plays right into the prosecution's hands as him trying to shift blame to the people behind this boating accident and the people who were bullying Paul. So that is very interesting to me. We knew he did it to the people or the first officer on the scene. This is the first time I've heard him do it on the 911 call. So that's really interesting to me.
What has stood out so far as well before when we know that Sergeant Daniel Green admitted in a cross-examination earlier, Lori, that the first responders in this double homicide did not wear protective gowns or booties to preserve the evidence. That was a whole lot that we learned earlier. This was the lead defense lawyer, Dick Harpootlian. He said, did they put anything to insulate themselves from contaminating the scene? The reply was no. That was a big moment as well, as far as evidence is concerned so far.
Yeah, that's correct. And you've seen on Law and Order, you see whenever they go into the crime scene, they put those little booties on. It's almost like they're surgical gowns. This crime scene, though, was outside, so it's a little bit different. They weren't prepared for it. Colleton County wasn't prepared for anything like this at all. So they weren't prepared for it. And to wear those, this crime scene is going to get contaminated anyway, and I hope the state will make that argument. It's going to get contaminated just from the fact that it's outdoors. But footprints certainly would not have been a part of this case. We don't know now which footprints belong to the killer, which ones belong to the prosecutor or the police department and the sheriff's department. So that is going to be what Dick Harpootlian hammers down on. I have said all along that this case is the state's to lose. And there were some mistakes made. Dick Harpootlian, you can bet, is going to make sure that he points out every single one of them. And that's the first one he's pointed out.
Obviously, you're on the screen top left there, the disgraced attorney, 54 years old, accused of shooting his wife, Maggie, 52, younger son, Paul, just 22 years old. This was all happening at their sprawling hunting lodge, supposedly to gain sympathy and distract away from his damning financial crimes. We have learned a lot and seen a lot of twists and turns in all of this, but what we just heard play out, Lori, was the first time we have all taken in that 911 phone call. I believe it was June 7th, 2021, when Murdaugh himself called 911 to report that his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul, had been shot at that family's property in Islandton, which is a rural hamlet about 65 miles west of Charleston. This was the defense attorney, if our team can tee this up, CF3, defense attorney, trying to focus on the idea of the arriving officers that they may have destroyed the evidence. I want to ask you how big this is, Lori. Listen.
So if somebody had come in and left who committed the murders, whatever tire tracks that were left were obliterated by your men. Is that right?
It's possible.
You've got a flashlight, you're looking, and you don't know what was in the grass that you may have disturbed around those shell casings.
No, sir.
You don't know.
No, sir.
You may have disturbed something.
It's possible.
And you can see that you may have disturbed or destroyed evidence in that process.
Microscopic or something I didn't see.
That obviously highlighting is a very big moment so far, Lori.
It is a very big moment. I think the officer did the best he could with pointing out that he, to the naked eye, did not see any evidence there. So any evidence that would have been destroyed would have been microscopic. And, you know, I don't know what kind of microscopic evidence you're going to find on a crime scene other than gunshot residue, blood spatter, anything like that. But that would have been hard to collect on dirt and on this rural property that they were on. So I think that they'll tie that back in. I think the prosecution will tie that back in. But again, Dick Harpootlian is a master of pointing out every flaw that the state makes in investigating this case.
All right, real quick, final question to you. As I put up on the screen some of the key evidence we know that they have against Murdaugh, The 911 call, obviously, that we just heard play out on the night of the murders, there was the 3 recorded statements that he gave to law enforcement, the ballistics evidence suggesting it was a family gun. We just heard talk about that, of course, the GPS location data from his vehicle cell phone, the gunshot residue on his clothing and the seatbelt of his vehicle, and DNA from the victims on Alex Murdaugh's shirt. The charges against him, Lori, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of possession of a weapon, and he could face 30 years life in prison. Just get a final thought from you here as we look live at the Walterboro, South Carolina courtroom there as this trial continues.
Well, this is a circumstantial case. This is where you pull all the pieces together, exactly like Creighton Waters said in his opening statement so eloquently with the rain analogy. You pull all of the pieces from every item that you just listed together, and you have your circumstantial case and hope that there's no reasonable doubt in there.
Lori, I appreciate you joining us on that. We're going to continue to monitor